Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday, the first Saturday of May already. It's hard to believe that the first 4 months of the year are now in the history books. That means 1/3 of the year is done. And had we known about this book today, we would have already completed the first 12 weeks, which would have meant that we would have got more done in the first 12 weeks than most people will get done this year. So I'm super excited about this book. I have actually been really diving deep into this book, and I hope you guys will enjoy it as well. I have put together a number of different resources, including, obviously the link to this book, which I'm about to post up on or I'm going to put it in the chat. Let's see, Control C, and let's go into the chat. And so there is the book. If you don't already have it, I highly recommend you do have it. It is definitely worth the less than $10 that I paid for it on one of the book sites. That's this book. But I also recommend, I went ahead and bought the workbook that goes with it. So I think the combined total was like $20. And I will tell you that it is if it's not $100,000 value, it's more. It's more. And what I'm thinking, and by the way, I would just love by a response in the chat. I'm just setting up the screens. I would love to know it by a response. If we were to do like either an additional study group, or what they recommend in the book is an accountability group, who would be interested in being a part of that? Put a 1 in the chat if that's if that would be interesting to you. No commitments at this point, not on my part and not on yours, but just was curious to see whether you would be interested in doing that. I'm going to tell you that I have put together my first 12-week plan. I've read the book. I've listened to the book a couple of times. So every time, and as I was preparing, it's harder than it looks. Okay, I'm just going to be very transparent about it. But the first step that we're going to, in fact, you know what? I'm going to go into the reading and then we'll talk about it a little bit more. I'll bring it up again later on when we have our full group. But the concept of sitting down, most people say, yeah, I got a 3-year vision in my head. I'm going to tell you that that's not it. Until you put it in writing, it's not it. Number 2, then you go from a long-term vision down to a 3-year vision, and his contention is that you can't really predict. You can look out into the future, but you can't predict much further than 3 years. In fact, think about the presidents. You can't even predict 4 years. So forget the 5-year plan. And I don't say forget the 5-year plan, because I absolutely believe in it, as you can see by my logo. But beyond that, we can shoot for our vision and our goals to be 5 years, but it's hard to reliably predict. And so he talks about a 3-year vision, and then the 12-week segments are taking pieces of that vision and putting it into reality. And that process of breaking it down, to the, what should I do? How do I measure it? Because here's one of the fundamental things which I believe to be true: the 12-year week, the 12-week year, the 12-year week. Imagine the 12-week year is very focused on breaking things down, and then having lead indicators and lag indicators. So if you wanted this to be a mystery book, I probably spoiled a lot of the mystery, but I wanted to get you ready, more importantly, to be able to really digest and use this book. So let me start out by sharing the screen. If you would confirm with me, I believe we're starting on chapter 4. If that is correct, say yes. If it's different, then tell me where we left off last week. Okay, great, thanks. So let's see here. So we're going to share. I'm going to share the largest possible version if I can. Can everybody see the book clearly? Let me just see one thing.
Yes, I can see it. It's a little
All right.
small, but I can see it.
Yeah, remember the last week we tried to make it big, because if I do in the bottom corner, make it large, this is what we get. How much better is that, by the way?
Very much better.
Okay, well then you know what? I'm gonna try that, and I'm gonna probably have to scroll around a little bit, because otherwise it kind of cuts off the bottom.
Yeah, you'd have to move it up and down, but that was good.
Okay, cool. Cool. So, chapter 4 of the book. Throw out the annual plan. Once you have a clear vision of where you want to go, you will need a plan to get there. Imagine yourself driving across country on a family vacation without a map. You'll probably agree that this is not a good idea. A vision without a plan is a pipe dream. Having a plan to achieve your vision and your professional goals is even more essential than having a map to navigate a cross-country trek. Yet the sad truth is that most individuals spend more time planning a trip than they do their business. And I've had this conversation and comment on the radio. People spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they spend their 40-year career. Think about that. And this is just another example that most individuals spend more time planning a trip than they do planning their business or even their career. Working from a plan has 3 distinct benefits. It reduces mistakes. It saves time. There you go. I'm going to drop it in the chat again. It saves time. It provides focus. Planning allows you to think through in advance the best approach to achieving your goals. You make your mistakes on paper, which reduces miscues from implementation. In addition, studies have shown that planning saves significant time and resources. This may seem paradoxical. In fact, many people feel that if they are not constantly doing, they are not productive. The reality is that planning is some of the most productive time you can have. Finally, planning is like a good roadmap. It keeps you focused and on purpose. This is vital, as there are all kinds of day-to-day distractions to pull you off course. Your plan continually brings you back to the strategic items. 12-week planning. Like no other approach that we are aware of, 12-week planning delivers these benefits and then some over traditional annual planning. We're not talking about quarterly planning. Remember, that's part of the outdated annualized thinking model. With 12-week planning, every 12 weeks stands alone. Every 12 weeks is a new year and a fresh opportunity to be great. 12-week planning also offers 3 additional and distinct differences from annual planning. The first thing that is different with a 12-week planning is that it is more predictable than 12-month planning. The farther you plan into the future, the less predictability you have. That's the conversation we just had. With long-term plans, assumptions are stacked upon earlier assumptions, which are stacked upon even earlier assumptions. If you're that good at predicting the future, call me. I'd love to talk to you about your stock picks. The reality is that it is very difficult, if not impossible, to determine what your daily actions should be 11 or 12 months in the future. That is why annual plans are generally objective based versus activity based, right? With a 12-week plan, predictability is much greater. You can define with a high degree of certainty what actions you need to implement each week over the next 12 weeks. 12-week plans are both numbers and activity based. They create a strong connection between the actions you take today and the results you want to achieve. The second difference with 12-week planning is that it is more focused. Most annual plans have too many objectives, which is one of the primary reasons execution fails. The reason most plans contain so much is because you're planning for 12 months, laying out all the things you want to achieve over the next 365 days. It's no wonder you become disillusioned and frustrated. You end up spread too thin and diffused, not a recipe for greatness. There will always be more opportunities than you can effectively pursue. And by the way, that there is a very big statement. There will always, most people think that there's a shortage of opportunities. I agree with this 100%. The hard part, the difficult part is doing the most important things when it's most important for them to be done. And opportunities, and I even talk about this in real estate all the time, because I say that the opportunity of a lifetime comes around about once a month. And I'm talking about really great real estate deals. They're out there. Most people don't see them. And they're so focused on trying to shoot in 20 different directions that they miss the great opportunity, or they don't focus and spend time on the great opportunity that's before them now. And if you miss one, well, learn a lesson so you don't miss the next one. Go back to the reading. There will always be more opportunities than you can effectively pursue. With the 12-week year, the approach is to be great at a few things instead of mediocre at many things. In 12-week planning, you identify the top 1 to 3 things that will have the greatest impact and pursue those with intensity. The 12-week plan focuses on a few key areas and creates the energy and urgency to act. Any questions or comments or feedback on this so far? Because right now we've covered a pretty heavy item, and that is, you know, differentiating the 12-week from the 12-month, and also the realization that there are more opportunities than you can effectively pursue. As we're reading, please drop any questions, and especially any insights, any ahas. You know, that's the whole purpose, because the reason that we get together to read, as opposed to just sending out the link and letting everybody read on their own. Number one, we know that if you get the link, and it will take no priority because you've never prioritized it and you've never time blocked it for it to happen. Why this morning is so effective is because we set aside the time. And P.S., you made a much bigger commitment than most people are willing to make. And you think, well, how big of a commitment? How life-changing or significant? Well, actually, it could be very life-changing. As I was mentioning, for me, this book has been very impactful, and I have a feeling it's going to create results much better than I have seen ever in the past. So, Ron, I see you've got your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you just touched on what I was going to say. With a 12 weeks, you can actually see the end and don't have to put anything off, because you want to get going so that you can complete the 12 weeks. That was a paradigm shift for me when I read that, or you read that part, because it's just such a enlightening, almost euphoric. I may be exaggerating, but almost euphoric in the fact that I can see the goal coming quicker and complete it.
Ron, you are not exaggerating at all, and I'll tell you, and at the end, I'll offer to give you guys a copy of the stuff that I'm doing, the resources that I'm using. But I went ahead and I already listed my three main goals for the next 12 weeks. And as I mentioned last week, even though I wasn't ready, I already started the clock. Okay.
Oh,
A couple weeks ago. So now my 12 week, I've got 9 weeks left to go to achieve my goals, but I'm going to do it, to prove for me, prove it to me that the concept really works. But I went this morning. I get up every morning about 5 in the morning, and I have quiet time, and I spend, a lot like Dr. Parker's book. You gotta have that planning and that personal, power time in the morning. And I wrote my three goals. I wrote, the 7 or 8 tactical tasks that have to do, but I did one thing further. Okay. And by the way, I threw on a fourth one, which is to me isn't really a big goal in terms of achievement, but it is a big goal in terms of my health and in terms of just, one more metric. So I want my ideal goal, PS, what I weighed since college, all right, and that was 40 years ago, is 165, and that's an appropriate weight for my height, et cetera, even by medical standards. So my goal at the end of the 12 weeks is to achieve 165 again, and I'm coming from 185 when I started this goal. I'm down to 170 already right now, or no, I'm sorry, 178. And what I did is I took and I wrote down a list of 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, so that I would know during the 12 weeks where I should be. And the cool thing about it, at week 9, I should be 181, which is 2 pounds heavier. So I'm 2 pounds ahead. And I think it's all because of the focus. But I think just like the aha that you just had, Ron, and you see that it is an epiphany. Because when you have your 12 weeks, so you have a condensed period of time to do it. And you either, it's digital, you made it or you didn't make it. Right. And in 12 weeks, I'm going to know, not at the end of the year for 2026. I wanted that. No, I want it for this 12-week year. And when you start seeing it, it is accountability to yourself when you see those numbers. And I did that for each one of my 3 primary goals. And they are not, they are designed, right? We want to make our goals to be challenging, not something that, oh, I know I can do it. And maybe for some of us, that will be good enough because then you do it. See, a lot of times we know we have this potential. And sometimes I think having great potential is a curse, because then we live on our potential and then we don't actually do it. And I think a couple of chapters back, there was the when David was reading, there was the quote that says, you can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. So any other comments before we jump into setting goals?
I got a little story, if I can say it, tell it.
Yes,
That
Ron.
they did a study years ago, and this is in relationship to mindset. And what they did was they took a bunch of hotel people that go make up the beds. I've forgotten what they're called at the moment. That go make up the beds and clean the rooms. They
Yep,
took
the
them and
maids, the room service.
yeah, there you go. They took them and they divided them into two. On first group number one, they said, "Look, I don't want you to do a doggone thing. Just do what you normally do." On group number two, they said, "Only thing we want you to do exactly what you've been doing, but the only thing that we want you to do is add the concept that this is exercise. When I make the bed, I'm exercising. When I clean the thing and do the floor, this is an
Interesting.
exercise." At
Interesting.
the pardon?
That's very interesting.
Yeah. At the end of the um, test, The group that did nothing, they added nothing, no mindset, didn't gain weight or nothing. They just stayed the same way they were. The ones that added the mental exercise, they lost 10%, if I remember the numbers, just by the mentality that I am exercising. That's it. That's the story.
And I was just thinking now, what can I do that I do? You know, I'll tell you something that I do that's right along those exact same lines. So, where I take my son to school in the morning, is about 45 minutes away. So every morning we leave 45 minutes way ahead of schedule so that to get him there. Now, he's usually sleeping in the car next to me. I'm
Mhm.
usually listening to this book or whatever audio books that I'm doing. So the 45 minutes, I actually have it time blocked, not as commute, but as studying time.
Ah. Mhm.
Okay. But here's the funny thing when that your story just peaked in my head is that then what I do once because a good portion of it is on the highway, and when I get on the highway, and you guys can laugh, I can take it. I put the car on cruise control, and then picture this with both hands on the steering wheel at 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock. I then start doing crunches and I lift my both knees up as high as I can lift them up. They hit the steering wheel, but I do crunches, which by the way is for my, my goal of 165. But it's funny that my drive has improved my abs.
Eric,
Fernando,
Eric, I have done the same thing, just for your information. And I know I look crazy doing it, but it is effective.
I feel so goofy doing it, but I'm doing it for me
Yeah.
to heck with everybody else what they think as they're driving by on either side. One of the reasons why I keep my hands up higher because I don't want them to think I'm doing something else.
Exactly. Uh, 2 and 10 is the
So
right place.
there you go. That's what I learned in driver's ed,
Yeah.
50 years ago.
Yeah.
Fernando,
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Eric, my
good
friend.
morning,
Great
Fernando.
reading. I like hearing all these little things that you should implement with your health, making your bed. And I think when we master to do things that are important, the basic things, it allows us to be able to achieve a good habit. Jack of all trades, master of none. I think I heard that somewhere in the reading there, and it's true. If we spread ourselves too thin and we don't master one skill or one activity, we're never gonna be able to get anything done. I learned from a quote from Bruce Lee that talks about that he fears more,
Yeah.
someone that masters a skill with one move rather than someone that practices 10,000 skills and masters none. So it really puts me to think about, what is it that we want to accomplish with our health goals, our spiritual goals, our business goals, as a matter of fact. And I am doing a couple of things in my assignments daily where I am knocking on doors through the social media space, making phone calls, and it has allowed me to get closer to the people that I want to attract. And by doing that, I was able to find someone that brought a lot to the table this past week, and it made me feel good because this came from a broadcast that I was doing on WhatsApp. The gentleman thought I was talking to him individually and personally. He even confessed that when we had a conversation before, after he enrolled. So I showed him the same techniques, and guess what? He's practicing it and he's having the same results. So it makes sense. I really appreciate this read. And it says right here, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. And that's exactly right when you don't have the direction of, breaking down your goals to 12 weeks and
Yeah.
weekly, daily, and hourly. Thanks, Eric.
And right to that quote, Fernando, there's another one. In fact, in the movie Alice in Wonderland, remember where I think that it's the rabbit. I don't remember who the character was, but he asks somebody, at one point. He comes to basically, you know, a fork in the road, and then Rabbit asks the person who's standing there, and he says, which way should I go? And they ask, you know, well, where do you want to go? He says, I don't know. He says, well, then either one will get you there.
That's a good one.
So, all right, I'm going to resume the read just so that we stay on course. Setting goals. The whole point of planning should be to help you identify and implement the critical few actions that you need to take to reach your goal. If planning didn't help you execute better, there would be no reason to plan. However, the sad fact is that most plans are not written with implementation in mind. That's a key sentence. Most plans are not written with implementation in mind when you're writing those goals. The way the plan is structured and how it is written impacts your ability to effectively execute. Effective planning strikes a working balance between too much complexity and too little detail. Your plan should start by identifying your overall goals for the 12 weeks. The goal defines success for the 12-week year. It represents a great 12 weeks and also represents intentional progress toward your longer term vision. And there's the quote. If you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. Yogi Berra, famous New York Yankees coach. Once you've established your 12-week goals, tactics will then need to be determined. The easiest way to do this is to break your 12-week goal down to its individual parts. For example, if your 12-week goal is to earn $10,000 and lose 10 pounds, you should write tactics for your income goal and your weight loss goal separately. Tactics are the daily to-dos that drive the attainment of your goals. Tactics must be specific, actionable, and include due dates and assigned responsibilities. We'll have more to say on how to write effective tactics a little later in the application section of this book. The 12-week plan is structured so that if the tactics are completed on a timely basis, the goals are achieved. Remember, in order to keep from losing your way with a 12-week focus, you will need to align your 12-week plan to your longer-term vision. Page. You have to do this. Didn't think I had to do this. A 12-week plan is powerful. It allows you to focus on what's important now. Remember that the 12-week plan is not part of an annual plan. That's old annualized thinking. 12 weeks is long enough to get things done, and yet it is short enough to create and maintain a sense of urgency. For top performers, 12-week plans provide a step-by-step roadmap that eliminates diffusion and delays and demands immediate attention. So, by the way, as you can see, for actual examples, it gives you a link. And if you download the book, that link should be good. And if you put your name and email, it even lets you take a little mini course on there. So if you like this stuff, I recommend that you copy down or take a picture of that 12weekyear.com. That's the main website / getting started. Any comments, or should I go into chapter 5? If I should go into chapter 5, give me a 5 in the chat. Otherwise, you're welcome to either unmute or to ask a question in the chat.
You can say that link again for me.
The one here in the book?
12-year. Oh, I didn't see it. for some reason.
12
Oh, I
week
see it.
year, all spelled out, .com. Just the number 12, the words week year, no space, .com.
I
And
see
then
it. there.
/ getting started. All right, Ron.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Chapter 5, by overwhelming vote, we go on. Chapter 5. Long-term results are created by the actions you take every day. Sir William Osler, founder of Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, said that the secret of his success was living his life in day-tight compartments. What he found was that while we plan for the future, we act in the day. To be truly effective, your daily activity must align with your long-term vision, strategies, and tactics. And that's also a very key point, that alignment is what keeps you from straying off the path, but also from getting discouraged when challenges arise, and challenges will arise. In the end, you have greater control over your actions than you do your results. Another key concept right here. You have greater control over your actions than you do your results. Your results are created by your actions. That's why it's so important to construct plans that are not only numbers based, but also identify specific critical activity or actions. The greatest predictor of your future are your daily actions. And stop for a second and think about that one, because that one also kind of hit me hard. When you think about what you do each day, and and I think you're going to be more conscious of this if you plan your days and you have specific items, both appointments and events as well as activities. And then you find, as I find that I rarely complete everything on my task. And a lot of times I think back and it wasn't because I didn't have enough time. It's because I didn't use my time as wisely. And so that's why that statement really kind of hit me very strong, as the greatest predictor of your future are your daily actions. In fact, when I look at the results, I could easily relate them back to, did I do the daily actions as often and as much as I could have or should have? So moving on, the physical universe will not respond to your desires, no matter how passionate or intense they are. The one thing that moves the universe is action. As we discussed earlier, vision matters in that it defines the end game and the overall direction you want to go. Vision also provides the motivation to act, but vision without action is just a dream. It is the consistent action that turns a dream into reality. Another really good thought there. This is where progress most often breaks down. Most of us aspire to improve some area of our lives, whether you want to earn more money, find a new job, meet the right mate, lose a few pounds, improve a relationship, or be a better golfer, parent, or person. Desire alone is not enough. It is not enough to have the intention of changing. You have to act on that intention for things to get better. And not just once, but consistently. As the ancient Roman philosopher Lucretius pointed out, the fall of dropping that doesn't make sense. Let's see. Oh, somehow I dropped all the way to the end of the book. Let's go. Sorry about that. I'm gonna do it here. Okay. So now I know that one arrow is not the one to press. There you go. The fall of dropping water wears away the stone. The fall of dropping water wears away the stone. Consistent action is the critical tasks needed to reach your goal. Consistent action on the critical tasks needed to reach your goal is the key to getting what you want in life. Your current actions are creating your future. If you want to know what your future holds, look to your actions. They are the best predictor of your future. You want to predict your future health? Look at your current eating and exercise habits. You want to predict the health of your marriage? Look at your interactions with your spouse. You want to predict your career path and future income? Look at the actions you take each business day. Your actions tell the story. So now we're coming down to the weekly plan. An ounce of action is worth a ton of theory. Ralph Waldo Emerson. The weekly plan is a powerful tool that translates your 12-week plan into daily and weekly action. The weekly plan is the instrument that organizes and focuses your week. It becomes your weekly game plan. This will keep you on track with your core activity each day. Weekly plans allow you to structure your activities so that you are focused on both the long-term and the short-term tasks that are truly important. This allows you to stay focused and productive in the moment instead of getting caught up in all the noise and distractions that easily derail you. The weekly plan is not a glorified to-do list. Rather, it reflects the critical strategic activity from your 12-week plan that needs to take place this week in order for you to achieve your goals. Starting point for an effective weekly plan is your 12-week plan. The 12-week plan contains all of the tactics you need to execute in order to achieve your 12-week goals. Each tactic has a designated week for completion, and these tactics drive your weekly plan by dictating your daily actions. The weekly plan then is simply a derivative of the 12-week plan, in essence, a 1/12 slice of the 12-week plan. To use your weekly plan effectively, you will need to spend the first 15 or 20 minutes at the beginning of each week to review your progress from the past week and the upcoming one. In addition, the first 5 minutes of each day should be spent reviewing your weekly plan to plan that day's activity. Now, I got to stop here because this is one of the big areas that I knew I was falling down on. I spend anywhere from a half hour to an hour at the beginning of each day on my plan. And I started to realize that that was way too much time. But I had no validation of that. It's just how I felt, that I was spending too much time planning and then later on in the day reviewing where I was in my daily plan. And when I read this, to use your weekly plan effectively, you need to spend the first 15 or 20 minutes at the beginning of each week. I spend 4 times that per day. And now they're saying that using this method, I can spend 15 to 20 minutes for the week and then basically 5 minutes a day, because I don't have to keep constantly changing and adding and, that process. Does anyone else spend too much time planning?
Yes, I do. Not enough action.
I think that catches a lot of us. So that's why I had to stop, because for me, that was a very big aha. and also encouraging, because I know I spend too much time planning and I could use that time doing the activities. So, so we spend the first 15 or 20 minutes at the beginning of each week to review our progress from the past week and plan the upcoming one. In addition, the first 5 minutes of each day should be spent reviewing your weekly plan to plan that day's activities. A 12-week year creates a greater focus by highlighting the value of each week. With the 12-week year, a year is now equivalent to 12 weeks. A month is now a week, and a week is now a day. When you look at it this way, the importance and power of each day becomes even greater. Your weekly plan enables you to focus your actions and be great at a few things rather than mediocre at many. To ensure that you get the most from your efforts, a weekly plan is a powerful and indispensable tool. Your weekly plan encompasses your strategies and priorities, your long-term and short-term tasks, and your commitments in the context of time. It helps you focus on the elements of your plan that must happen each week to keep you on track with your 12-week year goals. Your goals, in turn, keep you on track with your vision. Everything is powerfully aligned. To really benefit from this tool, you will need to carry it with you and work from it on a daily basis. Start each day with your weekly plan. Check it or check in with it several times throughout the day. If you've scheduled a tactic to be completed that day, don't go home until it is done. This ensures that the critically important tasks, your planned tactics, are completed each week. Visit our website. Here you go again, Ron. www.12weekyear.com to see a sample of a weekly plan and the other tools in our Achieve website. By the way, Achieve is a software program that they also offer that helps you to set up a lot of this stuff. I requested a demo of it. There is a monthly cost for that software, and that's why I want to see if it's really, you know, worth the investment in that, or is doing this on paper good enough. So, but the name of the software is Achieve. The weekly plan, more than any other tool, will help you execute on a daily and weekly basis and will help you achieve your vision. All right, let's go to the top. I think that takes us to the next chapter. Let me just peek ahead. Okay, it's not too long of a chapter. I'll even attempt to go through it. But first, I just wanted any feedback, any comments from some of our other quieter people. I think the value here. Go ahead, Jameson. Remember
Can you
the
hear me, Eric?
value you take out. I can hear you loud and clear, buddy.
Okay, yeah, this is my connection's a little unstable. I love this book in the fact that I've made like New Year's resolutions, or I've made a big vision and I have a vision board. I have this, I have that. And then the execution comes down to me and me coming back to that. And it's so easy to get distracted by, the 15 goals I have, and then I get busy and then I don't accomplish any of them. And
Yep.
it's a pretty vision, but without the execution, the results from actually taking a daily plan, it's also the whole year I'm looking at. And by focusing on one thing, like I think you talked about Bruce Lee or someone did, it's focusing on like two or three things and then and maximizing them. That's really what is effective with the whole idea of having the whole year at the same time, it kind of dilutes it into the whole year instead of like you talk about in the book, condensing it in and crystallizing it into a few small actions that actually creates the greatest results. What is it? The Pareto's law, that it's the 20% of actions that create 80% of the results. That's kind
Yep.
of the thing we're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's very true. And I'm sure each and every one of us is guilty of that, of having too many items on our to-do list, having too many goals. And at the end of the year, you realize that I had these, 5, 10, 15 goals, and I achieved none of them or barely one of them. And at the same time, I was thinking, Michael Jordan, right? Probably one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Trying to remember his name, but notice that they don't have a coach, right? They don't have a coach that does everything. They have one coach that is the play that determines the plays, the strategies, the overall. But they also have a strength and conditioning coach. They have a cardio coach. They have a nutrition coach. They have a stretching and flexibility coach. And so these coaches that probably focus at different times of the season are very focused on one thing, and they get one thing done they're really good at. And that way they can transfer that to other people. And so the whole idea of narrowing down the time frame and then narrowing down what you can do in the time frame, but getting that done, I think is super powerful. Fernando, you're next. Thank you for
What?
volunteering.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jameson, for this incredible observation that you just gave us. And Eric, thank you so much. I keep writing, I keep thinking. But one thing that Jameson talked about is busy versus productivity. See, we can be doing busy work. That could be family work, running errands, just cleaning up our desk, making sure that everything looks nice and neat. That's busy work. My question is for anyone that is in sales and you work from home, do you have a working environment somewhere where you prioritize your activities? Is the question. And if you do, what is your assignment read on your desk or on your board? See, that's one thing that I do have, and Martha and I respect our space. She works downstairs, I work upstairs. Why we're not together is because she's working on one project, I'm working on another project. And in front of me, I have a board that challenged me to do the activities that I need to do to create massive results. So how do I look at my week? Just so you know, is our compensation plans ends every Sunday. So I have to have on my board activities that are going to move me closer to my daily goals. So what do I have? Okay, so I have 19 transactions. How much of that have I achieved? Well, so far, 4. So I'm running low on my daily activities, which means I need to increase some sort of activity that gets me closer to knocking on more doors. See, if you don't have a working environment at home and you're not specific with what you want to accomplish, you're going to be doing, you know, busy things at home, maybe mowing the lawn or, I don't know, cleaning the kitchen or maybe cleaning around your desk. So activity is everything. And that's why I'm able to keep myself and hold myself accountable to what we do. And when it's 6 o'clock, evening time, guess what? My wife and I clock out and we spend some time together. So I hope this can help someone. If you are thinking about what's the difference between productive work and busy work.
Excellent point. Excellent point. In fact, you just gave me an idea, that when we set goals in our business, do we take into consideration, for example, what I got from what you said is in order to maximize the compensation plan, there's certain things that you should do. The 6 QMDs a week to get the bonus, the other things, because everything else will take care of itself. if you set your goals and are your goals, they could be greater than maximizing the compensation plan. It could be a portion of it, but whatever it is, tying them together, I see as being very critical.
Eric, one thing is, I know we have to set realistic goals, but I think we have to set goals that makes us very uncomfortable. Because
Yes,
if you're not setting up goals that make you very uncomfortable, and it brings me back to my gym days when I was young, my goal was to lift 3 plates on the bench. Okay, so real quick on this story. When I was 24, I reached 3 plates and 1/4 on bench. It was my goal when I started at 18. But I gradually started to see my surroundings, who was lifting more, and I would learn their skills. So sometimes you have to also know what environment is surrounding you. And if you don't have the right environment to stretch you, you got to get into an environment like Saturday. I mean, we're all here, 17 of us, stretching each other, right? To go back to our activities. And now you know what to talk about next Saturday. As you talked about that assignment that you want to create for all of us to, learn from. So I think you need to know what your surroundings are and then set up goals that are very uncomfortable. Say, for instance, it's 19 goals, Eric, 19 sales this week, but I achieved 5. Man, 5 is better than nothing. So I'm not saying, settle for 5. Stretch yourself, make the goals so uncomfortable and maybe even sometimes unachievable that it gets you closer to where you're going, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, and I think another reason why you want to make them uncomfortable is because if you set a goal that you knew you could reach, the reward, the realization is not that great. When you set something that you know is a stretch and then you overcome it, then the reward is even greater and the motivation to do more is even greater as well.
Yeah, and the wrap up on that, Eric, is so sorry about that. I didn't mean to shift gears from business to my goal back when I was young, benching, 3 plates and 1/4. Real quick on that. I gradually, when I was 18, by the time I was 20, from lifting a bar that weighs 45 pounds, I was lifting 2 plates already by the time I was 20. By the time I was 21, 22, I was lifting 2 plates and 1/4. So I would still see the guy, okay, and I didn't know, check this out, and I'll wrap up with this. I didn't know the guy that was doing that type of weight was on steroids until someone told me that they were selling him steroids. And I did it naturally, lifting 3 plates and 1/4, comparing my strength with the guy that was on steroids. To me, that was beyond belief. See, he tricked me. I thought it was all natural and I wanted to be as buff as he was, but I couldn't achieve that because I was all natural. But I accomplished the weight that I saw him lifting. So that's what I wanted to leave you
And
with.
the reward probably was even greater.
Exactly.
Excellent. Thank you. Ron.
Yeah, we keep using the word, well, the one thing of this, that, and the other, using the word one. And this book also reminds me of a book that I read called The One Thing. Many of you probably already read it, but
Yep.
the essence and mantra of that whole book is really beautiful. It says, "What is the one thing that I can do today, such having done will make everything else easier or unnecessary?" Which is really a whole lot of planning because you have to actually think about, well, what is the one thing that'll move me forward today? And then you go for that. It's a beautiful statement.
Yeah, and it's, by the way, going to be a perfect segue into the next chapter of confronting the truth.
Ah, okie doke.
Thank you, Ron. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I do 2 plates too, Fernando. I call it seconds, 3 times a day. That's food.
I knew exactly where you were going. Mr. Wilner, by the way, happy birthday. Yesterday, or the day before yesterday was his 90th birthday.
And still going forward.
Happy birthday.
Amen.
Thank
Yes.
you very much. You're very kind. What I wanted to make sure that included in the last thing, it always speaks of a person self-evaluating or measuring itself, and I think that is not sufficient. It is extremely important to at least have two people share your goals or your 12-week achievements to whom you talk about it. And you should talk about it at least a week because it does two things. It keeps you on track and it gives you energy that to really accomplish that. And next time that you come back, even if you have something incomplete, that it be complete because you said so. That's my suggestion one and evaluating oneself. That's all fine, but it is very biased unless you have a second person who probably is not a relative, but is somebody that you do business with or somebody that is gives you an independent review. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And look in the chat of all the nice happy birthday wishes for you. Congratulations. And, I take my hat off that, at the ripe young age of 90, remember, you owe me 100, okay? But at the ripe young age of 90, you still have the energy and the passion to always be still self-improving. So for those people who are in their 40s and 50s thinking that it's too late in life, here is an example of why you may not even be halfway. So thank you. And again, happy birthday.
Eric,
Yes, sir.
that's why you and I get along. You and I get along so well. And I always see Mr. Wilder. I'm a Taurus. He's a Taurus too, right? There's
He
a lot of
is
stubbornness in
guilty. He is.
Awesome. All right, Mr. Wilder. I'm in your club. I gotta reach 90. And stubbornness can help with that.
Great.
So I'm pretty stubborn like you.
I always make sure that my dreams are bigger than what I try to accomplish. And right now I have two very important projects which will be delivered through Make Wealth Real.
Amen. Amen.
Awesome.
And now we're over to, and by the way, I don't want this to be another spoiler, but your comment about accountability will be revealed in a future chapter. Monifa.
You called me?
I did.
Did you call? Okay, I thought I heard my name. Great day, everyone. Happy birthday, Eric Wilner Sr. I got a little joke for you. I got a bag of punches for you. You want them all together or you want them separate?
As you wish.
Hey, anyway, this book was good, very good so far. You did a great and outstanding job today. I'm coming from the point of view of the author and the annual planning efforts. I think it just creates a false urgency early and then a panic later. I gotta say, ouch, because for years, for eons, I set a vision board for the year, and that's how I looked at it for the year. And guess what? That made room for procrastination because now I'm saying, okay, I got 365 days to get this done. So I will put it off. So it like killed the consistent execution. Then I thought about when you shrink the timeline with the 12 weeks. So now you stop that procrastination as I did, You may, like it forces you to make a decision quicker, right? And then you'll see the results quicker, in essence. So if we adjust the real time instead of waiting till the next year, we can achieve more. So I really love this concept. And let me just be direct. You could slip, all right, if you're not sharp doing this. So you just go around just like Fernando was saying, just busy, 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 right? You'll try to keep too many goals alive because it's like an option. It's not like imperative to get done. And you just like romanticize your vision and avoid the daily work that you have to do. You'll think um like you're moving fast, but you're really not. So it's like you can't really measure your execution that way. But my little quote, I have to, speed without structure, you're just spinning your wheels, right? And execution is the bridge between vision and results. Thank you for having me share. Outstanding read.
Thank you, Monifa. And that's a great way to end today's reading. That action is the bridge between vision or dreams and results. And I think that was probably one of the key things is that you can control your actions, right? If I was in sales, which I am, the outbound contacts that I make, I can't control, even with advertising, who's going to call me, but I can control how many people I make contact with. I can't control who's going to buy and who's not ready to buy. I can only control the number of times I present the opportunity to buy. And again, we're much more in control of our actions, and our actions, as they said in the chapter, is the greatest predictor of our future. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming today, all 17 people that we had. I want to thank all of the folks that responded and participated. I think that you get as much out of anything that you put into anything. And that's, I think that was true of our jobs. It was true in school. It's true in many of the activities. So take advantage, use this opportunity, this amount of time that you blocked each week. Next week, there'll be a different reader, and they will pick up on chapter 6. So I'm going to hand the mic right back over to our fearless leader, Mr. Fernando Ramirez, and thanks for the opportunity to be your reader today.
Mr. Eric Wilder, my friend, you are an amazing reader, not only a reader, but a good coach. And I think a lot of us, enjoy the reading, but we enjoy more the conversations. Oh, sorry, I forgot to change my background. Creating all these funny videos and educational videos.
I'm
But with that
sorry.
being said, go ahead, Manifa.
I'm so
All right.
sorry. I'm just trying to get in. I'm working. Sorry. I also want to say with that too, as well, like I make my goals, and I think if it wasn't for this book club, because I think Eric said it, we can only control what we can control, right? If we're doing the work, but as for me, with the area, the circumference where I'm at, and the people I guess I'm reaching out to, I have to change, or well, I did change it a little bit. I don't know why I keep reverting back to my circle and my set of people that I desire to build with. And I guess that's not the right thing to do because they don't want to build, and their mindset is not thinking on the level that I'm on. But I can't beat myself up because I can't control their decision. I can only control my action. Thank you. I'm sorry. I just had to get that out.
Hey, Monifa, you always bring amazing jewels to the table. Thank you for that information. That is so true. But ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to have a training today. We'd rather put the action, okay? And it's very simple. Once we leave our reading club inspired, I mean, how many of you are inspired? If you can put it in the chat,
Yeah,
that'd be
baby.
nice. Say it. Put the word inspired. Go ahead, Ron.
I just said, yeah, baby. I'm inspired by it.
There you go. Awesome. So yeah, so put the word inspired in the chat before we leave. That's your assignment. But what are you going to do being inspired? Are you going to do busy work or productive work? And I'm assuming that now you can separate what busy work is versus productive work. So whatever is productive to you, whether it's a health goal or whether it's a business goal, productivity, if it's a business goal, it's money making activities. All right. So focus on your money making activities this Saturday. And if you are a part of our MWR platform, Sunday, the week closes. So what do you want to have deposit the following Saturday from your MWR weekly check? Health goals. If your goal is to lose some pounds, go to the gym, do your workout, be inspired by doing the activity that creates health. Health activity, money making activities. If it's a spiritual, do your prayer. Put your faith in writing. Do something that inspires you, but do something that gets you closer to your spiritual life, your health life, and your financial life. All right. On that note, we'll see you all at the top, and we'll see you around the beaches of the world. Bye, everyone.
Right. Thank you.
Fernando.
Thank you. And I'm all for the accountability group.
Awesome.